Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people, where we talk about critical issues in the blindness community. I'm Aaron Richmond. Tonight, like all other episodes, is copywritten by me, Aaron Richmond, and Aaron's Opinion. Thank you. You can listen to this episode right here on iTunes or follow on YouTube. Watch it right here on YouTube and comment below, as so many of you do. 1240 6819869. Aaron's Opinion 6 at gmail.com. Follow on Facebook and Twitter. Even consider becoming a patron on my Patreon page. I'd appreciate the support. Guys, I guess the only way for me to get into this episode is to tell you the truth about something. Many of you who know me in real life know that I have been working for a company that I have been calling Company X. But I have to be fair and tell you that it's actually a company called Cambly Incorporated, an amazing and wonderful place. I've been working there for 5.5 years. And we had an opportunity for us staff at this particular online company to interact, and we were talking about what we do when we are not teaching English as a second language on Cambly. And Shawanda Asbury is someone who's expressed interest in my podcast, which I appreciate. And she is also a tutor on Cambly. So as we were saying before I pushed record, outside of my parents and brother, this is the first time that I've ever interacted with another tutor here at Cambly, and this is the first time I've ever mentioned Cambly on my YouTube channel, although many of you were suspicious. So Shawanda wants to, of course, I'm sure, say some entertaining stuff about Cambly, and then she wants to get into her interest in innovation and education, and I'm sure she has a lot to say. All right. Well, why didn't you just jump right into it? So how did you get into Cambly, and how long have you been working there?
Oh, yes. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me, Aaron. I'm just, yeah, excited about this opportunity for sure. So Cambly, oh wow. Actually, I don't know how long I've actually been with Cambly. Maybe a little over 1 year, I think, because I signed up for Cambly and just didn't teach for a while, and then decided one day, like, okay, I should probably do this. So I think it's been about 1 year now. Yeah, 1 year since I started teaching with Cambly.
Okay, well, good, good. And there's a lot of entertaining students from around the world, but what was your, I
Yes.
mean, I'm not going to make you tell your scariest moment, although I don't want to scare people on the channel. I will tell you off the air what my most unusual call was, but it's kind of scary. So actually, I want to keep it just R rated, not A rated. So,
Okay.
what was the funniest thing that a student has ever said? Some people have said some hysterically funny things to me over the 5.5 years. What about you? What's one
Oh,
funny thing? It's so hard to pin it down. I know.
yeah. I think, well, I guess since we're going to be talking about innovation and maybe
Sure.
like, thinking outside the box, um, I had one student who just, you have the, oh, hi, I'm Shawanda, where are you from? And he's like, teacher, please hold on, stop, just stop. Let me stop you. He's like, I do this with every single teacher. Can you please just like let's have a conversation about something else. You know where I'm from, you know why I'm here. So I think that was the was one of the students that really yeah, it's like, that's I don't know what you do, but typically that's what we're told to do
Right. Right.
um when we meet a new student. And so I think that I don't I I don't know if that was unusual, but maybe it just made me think like, oh, maybe yeah, maybe I should have a different approach
Hmm.
to, how like when I meet a new student, maybe I should ask something else because, maybe some students are bored bored with the typical introduction stuff. So, yeah, it just made me think. I think it changed, yeah.
Sure. That's
I guess
why I
maybe I deal with
always,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And that's why I always advocate for and stress the reservation system. I say if you don't want to if you don't want to keep introducing yourself every single day, make
Mhm.
reservations. And some people have. But so if you want to talk more a little bit more about your background and your interest specifically in innovation, I think that's a critical topic. Go right ahead.
Oh, my background. Um, I am what has been called a multi-potentialite. So that means I have lots of interests. I'm yeah, interested in lots of different topics. I like learning about different topics in different areas of life and applying them or just yeah, I like knowing about information. So yeah, I was born in South Carolina, lived there, studied there for a couple years, and then went on. Well, I moved to North Carolina. Long story short is that my university closed in South Carolina, but opened a campus in North Carolina. So I moved there. So though it was an interesting situation. Yeah, so I studied business there, and I, I worked as a chef. That was my first career, and um, I moved into IT, and then now I'm teaching just with lots of turns of events. But essentially, I studied business, public policy, and IT. Um, and yeah, I lived in the UK where I studied public policy. And yeah, how my I guess my interest in innovation, um, like innovation, service design, really came to be when I worked in 2 years, no, 3 years ago now. When I worked in Guinea in West Africa. I
Huh.
worked with a yeah a software company, and they were trying to figure out a new. Um, they were working on a new what is it, a web application for pharmacies, and they were trying to figure out how can they serve the needs of West African well, not just West African, but
Guinean, is this
basically
Guinean pharmacies? Sure, sure.
yes. Well, we wanted to start in a different country, in Ivory Coast, but basically in countries where pharmacies didn't maybe they had issues with electricity, or they used uh, paper processes compared to digitized processes, which a fire or just water can damage your documents. So yeah, we I worked on us on that system, and so that just it started just had me thinking of like, oh, how what can I do? How can I do more of this? How can I, serve people in a practical way through technology? And so yeah, it's been a process to find like exactly like innovation and service design, but finally I'm here. And just working on learning more about it and sharing it with people as well. I am going to start teaching as soon as I get the class together, a class at least for children, so young learners, on entrepreneurship, and then I'll include some innovation in that as well as technology. So they can build a bright future for us.
So good, so good, so fascinating. You
Whew.
know,
Yeah. Mhm.
you're doing fine. You're doing wonderful. Great, great. Well, this,
Yeah.
my background in a lot of ways is quite similar in some regards. I studied in international relations, and I'm a French speaker, which,
Oh,
as you know,
okay.
they speak French in Guinea. So I'm sure that your French
Yes.
is quite good by now, right?
No, 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 it's not. It's not. And also my no, and my husband's from Guinea, so
Oh, that's
so
cool. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so I have to learn. I need to work on that. Yep.
vous devez parler. That's the problem. You have to speak. Yes,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
an extended. Yes, I've spoken to some Guineans. Actually, after we finish this episode, you'll be added to my WhatsApp group. There are,
Okay.
podcasting is all over the world. I've spoken to many people from several of the countries over in Africa. There's a Gambian, Ugandan in the group, Tunisia. And actually, I've been to Swaziland, as a matter of fact. I've never
Okay,
been to
yeah.
Guinea, but I can imagine, kind of envision what Guinea must have been like. How long were you living
Yep.
there in Guinea?
Yep. So I went there for I had a basically a consulting contract for 6 months. So I was there for 6 months. I went in November,
Hmm?
very end of November. Yeah, I think that's right. It feels like it's been yeah, a long time ago. So 2017, and then I moved back to the US in 2018. But I was planning on going back, but here we are. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's much harder to travel now. But so now with all of this, so really, what is try to expand more on this whole concept of innovation. And for example, now that you've learned how important innovation is, how do you make the connection between all of our great students at Cambly, innovation, and your knowledge that you already have? Because I think it's a really interesting combination.
Oh, I I didn't, so what can you like what do you mean exactly like making the connection?
Well, basically, how are you able to use your knowledge and appreciation for innovation
Mhm.
to help students all over the world today? That's
Yeah.
the question.
Hmm. Okay, yes. So I've had lessons with students where we talked about the future, and I guess one was about like cars and the environment and what's happening in their country is, I guess, yeah. I guess that's the um I guess that's the connection. It's, having conversations and learning about what other countries are doing as far as like innovation in order to shape the future. I think that's my view. I'm like, we can come up with, ideas and execute them so that we can, maybe slow down climate change or um, feed more people or um, yeah, educate more people as well. So from my perspective, I look at innovation, using innovation, and using innovative processes to make the world a better place, not just innovation just for, to say you did something cool.
Very, very good. Very nice. Yeah, so good. And by the way, I studied abroad in England too. Where in England were you living?
Yeah, so I was in London. Aaron, you've been lots of places. I don't know much about you, so I feel like
Sure,
I'm
sure,
thinking you're
sure,
very interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
sure. Well, okay, okay. So I'll
Yeah,
tell
I
you
was
all the.
in. Mhm.
Sure,
Yep.
I'll tell you all the places I've been. So I lived in England for 3 months in university. I highly recommend that students study abroad in England. I think it's just a
Yep.
wonderful
I agree.
place.
Hmm.
It's just such a good place to be. I would go there. I would basically go there any day. Although my desire for travel and my desire to do other activities is, a little bit different nowadays. But in a normal circumstances, I'll go to England anytime. I lived at the University of East Anglia in Norwich, so I'm very familiar
Hmm.
with, Norwich and East Anglia and that part of the country up in the northeast. It's a lovely, lovely place. I did go to London for one day. I've also been to Amsterdam, which I highly recommend to students or anyone. Amsterdam is a wonderful place to visit, great place to go. I've been to Austria and Germany. Um, Austria, is a very interesting place, but the people there do not like to speak English or French, apparently. So Austria is a little bit more challenging. Germany is very, very nice, because everyone there is willing to speak English. So, and then I've been to France like 3 times, but my second language is French, so I'm able to speak to everyone in France very easily, which
Yes.
is
Yeah.
which is good because the French people can't like speak English at all these days. So,
The,
um,
yes, I had a guy who spoke French to me for 5 minutes. I think literally 5 minutes. And then he decided to speak English. So that I was just
got
I
you.
was
Ha
I
ha
was struggling.
ha
I was just like, sir, I don't understand. I don't understand. I was saying this in French.
ha.
And then he was like, okay, fine. I was just like, how, huh? Why would you do this to me? So
that's
yeah,
that's the type of style. That's my sense of humor. That's the type.
yeah.
But I get like
It,
that too in France. Like I don't really like to speak English either in France because like no
mhm.
one else speaks English. So I do. I mean, was he a French student or just from the Maghreb or what part of the world was he from?
So we were in Paris,
Hmm.
and we were at the Eiffel Tower actually for like the I don't know the lights. I think it was at I don't know 1 a.m. or something, and
Uh
he
huh.
happened to be there. And I was with my friends, and then my friends kind of left me with him, which was not a good idea. I was like, guys, what are you doing? And they didn't rescue me or anything. Um, but yeah, I don't know, he was definitely older than me
Hmm.
by maybe 30 years or
Right, but I
so.
mean, like, how it's kind of weird. Like, was he just sort of just like wandering around there in that area himself, and he noticed a tourist, or how did he notice you in the first place? It's kind of odd.
Yes, we were just standing there and yeah, he just started a conversation
Oh, okay.
with us. Yeah, because we're
Maybe
all looking, waiting for the lights at the Eiffel Tower. And so he was there and yep, it was just a random conversation.
that's funny. Those are the best ones. I'll tell you this funny story in France.
Mhm.
This is a tiny bit scary, but quite hilarious. Definitely my sense of humor. So I was with my parents in Nice one day, and a
Mhm.
thief grabbed me. A thief came up behind me and started robbing me.
Oh,
And then
oh.
I turned and started yelling at him in French to get him to stop. And he was very offended that I called him a thief and accused him of stealing from me. He was quite offended. But
That's what you are.
but
Yeah.
the irony is you can't be a good thief if a blind person catches you. So, he wasn't terribly good at it. He was old and had the creep look, the creep look,
Yes.
shaking the whole. I mean, he could have just come up to me and said like, "Excuse me, sir, can I just borrow some drugs from you, man?" Cuz like that's clearly what he needed, money for drugs. Like cuz he couldn't stop
Right. Yeah.
he couldn't stop shaking.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's some
Mm.
characters and there's some sketchy people in France every day, and it is. I tend to tell students, or anyone, you got to be really careful in France. There's a lot of
Yeah.
there's some characters in that country. They have a lot of bad people and a lot of great people
Mhm.
and a lot of normal people too.
Yeah.
But there's some oddballs. That country ended up with some weird people for
Yeah. I
sure,
think
for sure.
yeah, I just like to tell people, just use your street smart. So no matter where you go, you don't know who you'll find. And so
Yeah, but I mean,
it's better to
especially
just be, yeah.
especially in France, though, I find that other European countries are a little
Yeah.
bit more secure than France, but still, I mean,
Mm,
France is
yeah.
France is safe, France is fine, but in comparison to like Amsterdam or Germany, where you could walk around anywhere really and no problems, they just have less problems in Amsterdam and Germany, I think. But I don't know. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can have some funny stuff, funny experiences happen in France. Or the other funny one is so.
Yes.
The other funny thing is
Yeah.
like both my parents speak French, but of course I speak French the best. Um,
Ooh.
so we were
Yes.
like we were like
Mhm.
in we were like in a restaurant, and my mother was trying to order she's trying to order butter, and she accidentally kept on ordering beer until
Oh,
until
buh,
event.
bear. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I see. I see how. Yeah, I see
So
that.
I mean, when you're a teacher, you
Mhm.
notice these little nuances of languages. Le beurre, la bière. Like slight pronunciations. But
Yeah.
if you get it even a little bit wrong, it's all the way wrong. Or mixing up
Mhm.
matches for glasses. My father smoked at that time or something, and he needed to buy les allumettes, the matches, and he accidentally asked, can he buy glasses, les lunettes? So you can't, words
Yes.
words. That's
Mhm.
one thing I tell people about the English language. We have a lot of words that sound very similar. Allumette, lunette, bière. Words are very similar in languages, and if you
Yeah.
speak the
Yeah.
language, you can tell right away. If you can't, it all sounds the same, which really, really
But
stresses
how
me.
about lawyer and avocado? In French.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Which you're alluding to you are continuously proving that you just need to practice French is what this
No,
is all
no.
coming.
But it's the same.
Les avocats, l'avocat, avocat. Not to be confused with avocado, which I wouldn't confuse, because why would I be talking about a lawyer eating an avocado in the same sentence? See,
I know.
I don't know.
I know.
It's kind of weird. That's a weird one though.
Yeah, I'm just like,
That's
why is it the same word? That's not okay. Yeah.
I well,
Okay. Yeah.
as in a lawyer is an avocat comes from advocate or advocacy, so which really has
Yes.
nothing to
Yeah.
do with has nothing to do with avocado. So there's all sorts of
Yeah.
weird little nuances and things like that.
Like
But
which one came first? That's my question. Anyway, that's a
who know who
I'll have to
knows?
research that. Yeah, it's like which one came first? You didn't think of changing this? Let's talk.
Well,
Um,
there's a whole organization that is supposedly trying to remove the Americanisms from the French language. They're trying to get rid of le weekend and stuff like that, and come up with new words without sounding American. But over time, my theory about languages is that over time, languages will sound more like English as more English words
yes.
are said
Yes.
overseas. Eventually, what we're going to end up with is a lot of languages are going to sound kind of English-ish over a period of time. So,
Yeah, I yes, I
so what are some of
agree.
your like
Yeah.
what are some of your like future predictions? If you can predict anything, what do you think? It's really hard to predict, but what do you think for how
Oh.
things will change and innovation and some futuristic things that we will see?
Oh. Um wow. In the future,
Hmm.
I think I for sure. I know now we're using the internet for many things.
Everything.
Yes, everything. Like, oh, I need to order some food. Okay. I think that's just in the future, or like even now, but I think in the future, like years from now, we we're going to find new ways to use the internet. I think, or we're going to rely on it more. Just because I think we many of us are have we're afraid of this. We're in this COVID time, so I think a lot of people would just be thinking, okay, we have a vaccine, although you won't be 100% immune. And also, what if there's another virus that comes about? So I think people will be a lot more cautious. So I think as far as innovation, I think it's going to um, I don't know how, but I for sure like businesses that you know once were brick and mortar, like heavily brick and mortar, they'll transform into something else. I'm trying to think of an example, but I don't have it, so I'm just going to leave that alone. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, another
Mhm.
thing that I always have to reassure students, or students always bring up, is, Aaron, do you think they'll ever invent a robot to do your job? And my theory is, well,
Mm.
they might, but probably students will crave and desire human interaction. So I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
what's your perception of that? In other words, do you think our
Yeah.
jobs will become obsolete at one point?
No. I think there, although I love technology and innovation, or technological innovations, um, I think the human side of things is important, especially when it comes to learning a language. Um, I I can learn something from a robot, artificial intelligence, but I can't tell a joke. I can't talk about, the time I was in France and have and have someone laugh at it. They're little, I think those little things those are the things that make learning a language or um other things that we deal with or we do in our life. The human interaction, I think, is very important, and especially when it comes to teaching, I think is very important. And you can learn things that you may not learn when you have a robot, for example. So yeah, I, I is there a reality that there will be robots that will teach English? Sure, I mean, why not? But will they be as effective? Um, will there be a human connection? I'm saying no. I don't I don't see how um that will completely wipe out teachers. I don't see how that will make us have to look for a new profession.
Yeah, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that as long as we are maintaining knowledge and giving out knowledge to someone else, I think that role in society will always be there to give someone more information,
Mm.
which is basically what we do at Cambly, give someone knowledge in English to help them better their lives. So I agree, but at the same time, I could not have possibly predicted the situation we are in today. So I can't possibly predict the situation of tomorrow. Who know? Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows? Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah. But I've been looking. I think it's called the World Economic Forum, and they have this like the Great Reset, and so I've been interested in that.
yeah. Well,
I don't know. I mean, well, there's two. Okay, well, there's like another Great Reset that people conspiracy theorists have, and then there's like the Great Reset of like, okay, as we move forward, businesses or products or well, businesses, and we need to think about green products, like green energy, how we can be more sustainable. Also consider technology. If you're building a business, you need to consider how you're going to use the internet, especially, and other types of technology to support your business. And also there's, the idea of like doing good. So that's one of the things of moving forward of like doing good and how can we do that? And I think people like Bill Gates and also like Jeff Bezos, who they both stepped down, and they're now like working on the doing good part. And so it's interesting to see that. I don't know what that means, but I'm assuming they're trying to develop a better world, but also they could be for other capitalistic reasons, but I don't know. But at the same time, it's interesting to see two, very prominent, I guess, billionaires go and start doing things in areas where people are just like, there's no money in that.
yeah, yeah. That aspect is extremely interesting for sure. So what other countries in Africa have you been to, by the way?
Oh, yes. So Guinea, I've been to Ivory Coast, Ghana, Togo.
Oh wow.
Did I I'm trying to remember. I think that's it. I think. Yeah. It sounds about right. I thought there, but I can't remember.
So good, so good. What was the most unusual experience that you had while traveling in that region of the world, in those
Oh,
countries in Africa?
oh. Unusual.
or interesting?
Yeah. um, oh, so I went. This is a bad idea. I
So
I
okay,
went.
so wait a minute. So don't try this at home. So don't do
Yeah,
right. So
don't you
so
don't
don't do this. Okay, go ahead. Okay, let's give
don't
bad
do
advice.
this.
Let's say something
Yeah.
negative to give bad. Okay, bad advice. Okay, go. Yes.
Yeah. So I was in a village that borders Ghana and Togo. And so there's, I guess it's on the Monday after Easter Sunday. The people in this village, they go to this waterfall. So I don't know. They sing, they dance. And so I was convinced by a friend to go on this journey. They're like, oh yeah, it's a little bit of climbing. It's a little difficult maybe to get there, but it's not too bad. Okay. It was definitely not safe. There was lots of climbing. Um, there were people walking past me with flip flops on, and they were carrying, things to sell on their head like it was nothing. And I'm just like, this is dangerous. You could just like fall over the cliff and die, you know? That was like the most interesting thing I'd seen. I'm just like, for me, I'm like, in the US, we would, have on hiking shoes, and, we would have maybe on some gear to make sure we don't fall over the cliff. Yeah, so that was probably the most interesting and do not try this ever experiences I had when I in that region.
And for me, my most exciting experience in Swaziland was actually being chased by an elephant. That was so wonderful, so adorable.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Did
Was
you see did
yeah.
you see any of the wildlife in those countries? The wildlife in that continent is just amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to no. I don't I mean there's wildlife, but it took my friend like all her life to see a giraffe but she was in Niger. So it's a little like they are there, but you have to go to specific regions, and it has to be like the right time. The It's about a timing. So no, I didn't get to see. I saw like some monkeys or something, but yeah, no fascinating wildlife, no elephants.
I see. I see. Have you been to any other regions around the world?
Let's see. I went to South America. That was my first. So my first time traveling outside the U.S. was I went to Peru.
It's an
And
interesting
yeah,
one. What can you tell me about Peru, by the way?
oh, that was such a long time ago. It feels like I think it's been like 11 years now. Wow. So Peru was interesting. So okay, so there I saw some interesting wildlife. Um, I we went to this place called La Jungla, and so basically, we went across this. It used to be like a swampy area where there were lots of dangerous animals, but they're no longer there. And then we went over to this place that's supposed to be a zoo, but like it's a petting zoo with like boa constrictors, just kind of.
Aw,
Oh, you could take a picture with them.
I love
You could put it around
snakes.
your neck. Okay, well, here we go. They all, yeah. So, uh, but it was interesting because the cage was open, and there were like these big snakes, but they were just like at that point, I guess I would say tamed. So they just didn't leave. The their confinement area, although they were kind of free to go. So I just remember that experience. But yeah, I mean, it's like there was great food, beautiful places, great people. I tried speaking Spanish a few times, had no clue what the responses were sometimes. Um, yeah, I went to Peru for a wedding. I invited myself to a wedding, so um,
So you
I
went to so just to clarify the English verb. So you went to Peru to crash a wedding, right?
exactly, yes. I was just like, hey, can I go to Peru? I've never been. It'd be my first time outside the U.S. And so Um, I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't know, yeah, I just didn't know what to expect or anything. So I was just going with the flow essentially. I mean, Lima is beautiful. The architecture there, some of the things I saw or I can remember at the moment. Well, yeah, it was yeah, very beautiful there as well. Yeah, I don't remember much at this
Well, that
point.
is that is lovely. That is all fine.
Yeah.
So now back to back to Cambly. I'll tell you that I work on Cambly almost every day of the year for 8 hours a day. But most tutors don't do 8 hours a day. How much in general? How do you like organize your time, and how long do you work each day? And then if you're not on Cambly, what other activities do you do?
Okay, yeah. So I've been teaching with another company. So I do that like Monday through Friday. And then I actually I was doing Cambly during the week, but now I only do Cambly on the weekends. And so um, I'll probably do like 4 hours or so per day on the weekends. Um, because for me, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm tired of talking now. Okay, all right, I need a break. So I know there's a certain amount of hours I can work, and after that, I don't think I'm an effective teacher.
It's
So I have to be
interesting.
careful. Mhm.
Yeah, it's for me, outside of Cambly, my podcasting, content creation, this is what I do. And
Yeah.
really, this is a great use of my time because it's always productive for me. I get bored very, very easily. So I'm the type of guy that needs to be working kind of a lot, for me to maintain my sanity. But I totally understand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I'm like, I would love to work more hours, but I think I came. There was a point where I was just working. I don't know
You know
how
what? You know what?
so
If
many hours.
I can, although I do not and never have worked for the official staff of Cambly as a fellow tutor, I appreciate you for working for 30 minutes or 1 hour or one day because that's a chance to improve one more person's life. So you should never
Yes.
look down on yourself for 4 hours. Most people are not there for 8 hours a day. I don't
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked around our Facebook group, the Cambly Corner group. I guess I've always tried to wonder, try to get a sense of how many other tutors really work for 8 hours a day. I'm guessing probably most are not. I'm guessing because most of them have other
Yeah.
activities to do, probably. But
Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
have you um have you thought about getting into podcasting or YouTube or content creation?
Ooh. Yes. I am doing some planning, just trying to figure out what's the best approach at the moment. Because I'm really just just with service design and innovation. It's something that I want to share with other people because I I think one thing I'm very interested in is service design and government.
Hmm.
Um, yes. And so that's something I want to just like share with the world, because I think it's especially in the US. I went through the immigration process with we're still going through it with my husband, and so I'm laughing, but there have been some moments of like pain, just from the beginning of trying to figure out all the paperwork to he now he's in the country and going to the Social Security Administration and not getting clear answers and then going to the DMV and being told, oh, there's a mistake on your work permit, so you have to send it back, and now it's been there since November. So I just really want to talk about that experience, and also um, I think I did, yeah, I did a like a project, um, just from that experience, and I talked about the experience, and then I described like the user, I guess the user map, the user experience map, and so what a typical process, like the typical process a user will go through if they're using the service, so Social Security Administration, and applying for a Social Security card. And then, yeah, so I just did a process and said, okay, this is how you can improve. And so that's what some people will do, like if they're just thinking of how to improve a service. And so for me, that I just did that because I'm like, this is this it would it's it's I have no words, but I think it's a challenge if, and especially my, so like my husband's first language is French. And so doing paperwork and trying to figure out where to go and what to do, if he had to do it alone, I just can't imagine, how that would be. And so if you think of other services within the Social Security Administration, um, I know those are difficult as well for people, and just trying to figure out, when are you going to get an answer? How do I, do this process? It's not, I mean, yeah, there's a website, but I just feel like they don't make it easy for people to get help or get what they need. And I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's, yeah, I don't think that's fair to our citizens and people who are living here.
Yeah, I appreciate you very much for saying that, because you're 100% right, and it also affects not only your husband, a Guinean, but what about the disability community? It also affects them
Yeah.
too. So it affects a lot of people in a lot of different ways. But what you said is 100% correct. It's very
Mhm.
interesting to say the very least. I completely understand. So I think if you set up a podcast where each week you have an episode featuring an area of society that needs improvement through social innovation or something to that extent, then wow, will you be in business? Because there are plenty of
Ooh.
innovations that could be improved upon. I mean,
Yes.
you could make
Yeah.
that argument for many many different things. but
Exactly. Yeah.
but I strongly advise podcasting. It's always an incredible hobby for me and an incredible way to contribute to the world, similarly to Cambly, but also very in a very creative and positive and fascinating way. So I always enjoy every
Mhm.
episode. I always like to say that basically I've asked all of my questions. You've been a magnificent guest, but of course I have one more. If you could ask me only one question to see if I'm really worth my salt, to really make me sweat, what do you want to ask?
Oh. Wow. All right. So, if you could, okay, I had a, oh, yeah, okay. This is
Don't be
based
shy.
on,
Don't be shy. Don't be no,
yeah,
nothing.
this is,
No, you can ask
yeah,
anything. Nothing. No question's gonna bother me. Trust me.
yeah. I think I want to focus though on like innovation and those types of things, that type
Right.
of thing.
Hmm.
Okay, so Um, is there, if you had the option to work on a service or a product or anything that would change your life, what would that be?
Now that's an interesting one. I don't know.
Okay.
Because the problem is that before the pandemic, there were so many different things that needed fixing. I don't know what to fix. There were so many different problems with
Yeah.
our society. I don't know where to start. If I was tasked with fixing the society, well, one thing I would do is I would have to hire more people, because I don't know. There's so many different problems that we can fix. But I guess one of the changes that does need to be made, and kind of to parallel with what you were saying is that people with disabilities really need appropriate opportunities to be independent and to be working and to be productive members of society. So I think I would do, if I had the chance, I would do work that would um help other people with disabilities to get meaningful work, gainful employment, that type of thing. However, the circular problem here is that the reasons why so many people are not working and so many people with disabilities are not working, the reasons and the problems with society are still going to be there. So it's like, do you employ people when the society is still broken, or do you try to fix the society with people who haven't had the experience to help you fix the society? you know so it's
Mhm.
it's a it's a very interesting and a very interesting problem, and that was a great question. Yeah.
Thank you. I think yeah, I think, we have to, yeah, there are lots of problems, but I think we just have to find, that one problem and find a small solution and then
Well,
build on that, you know?
indeed, no question. But there's no small. The problem is there's no small problems. All we have is big
Yeah.
problems.
Find
There's,
a big problem and a small solution.
but the
Build
problem the
on that.
problem is,
Yeah.
where do you start? I would argue that if you can fix some of the economic issues, you can get a lot
Yeah.
done through economic work.
I
Yes.
agree. Yeah, I agree. I didn't talk about that, but um we have a farm that we started in Guinea, and like that's part of our plan to do like a social enterprise there
Hmm.
around farming and agriculture.
Oh,
So,
I
yeah.
love that
Yeah.
topic of farming and agriculture. I
Yeah.
love that. What types of is it like crops, livestock? Like what does that farm have?
Yeah, so currently there are cashew trees there. And so we have to go back. Obviously, it's difficult now, but the plan is to grow pineapples, because that's eaten in the country and around the world. So there's an opportunity for exports. And then we want to try our hand at growing things. I don't know. It's finding apples that will grow in the climate. There are a few. Just finding things that aren't typical in the region, and grow them there so that we can, yeah, export them to other countries within Africa, or use them within the country as well. So developing markets there. So yeah, that's a project. um,
That fascinates me. I'm fascinated by that. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
yes, yeah. So that's just, yeah, one step for us. I say us because my husband as well. One step for us how we can um support a country, and from an economic standpoint. Um, yeah, I have my thoughts on international development and all those things too. And I have friends who work in that area who they think yeah, the building like economic development is one of the best ways to really impact countries,
Yeah.
or
Or it's the
countries or groups of people, or yeah.
Sure, or fixing. If you want to start to repair damage, you have to start at the economic, jobs and job creation and that type of thing. But
Hmm.
it's there's a
Yeah.
lot there's a lot to that though. There's a lot of different
Yes.
factors, all of which are fascinating. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, that's why when you said you studied international relations, I was like, oh, okay. I'm sure that's something that is close
It's
in that area for
very
you.
very
Mhm.
interesting for me. Sure,
Yeah.
definitely it is. Well, know
Hmm.
that you are always welcome on this podcast for sure. This is the most open and welcoming podcast on iTunes and YouTube. I promise you that.
Well, thank you.
And you are so welcome. I wish you the very best of health, along with your husband and anyone else around the world, whether they're in America or France or Guinea or wherever. Good health to all. Good luck to all. Positivity to all. How about that? We have a
Yes.
very, very special way that we end. I say, I wish the world very good health. Keep up your great work, everybody. And as I say here at Aaron's Opinion, help one person today, help 1 million people tomorrow.